Welcome to ONR Insights. This video delivers a systematic overview of key biblical topics, dedicated to illuminating biblical truths. Drawing from a foundation of rigorous biblical research, we offer insights tailored for deep thinkers who seek understanding and spiritual clarity. Today, we're diving into what this study calls the rules of engagement, the unseen principles that govern the cosmic conflict shaping our world every single day. So let's start with the big question, the one that's at the very heart of this study. If a perfect God designed the entire universe, why on earth is it so full of suffering and chaos? It's a real paradox, and it's one that has stumped people for ages. To even begin to unpack that, we have to go back to the very foundation of creation itself. Let's call it the architect's paradox. According to ONR Insights, before time was even a concept, God had what you could call a divine blueprint. Think of a master architect. He planned out every single detail, from the grandest galaxy to the smallest particle, and established unchangeable laws to govern everything. Absolutely nothing was left to chance. And this isn't just an idea, it's right there in the scriptures. Psalm chapter 148, verse 6 says, "He has established them forever and ever. He has made a decree which shall not pass away." So you see, these aren't just suggestions. This study presents them as the fundamental physics of reality itself. This study offers a really powerful way to picture this. Think of God's foreknowledge as a massive, masterfully designed domino run. Now, if you're just watching, the chain reactions might look totally chaotic, completely unpredictable. But the designer, he foresaw every single fall, every click, and the final outcome right from the very beginning. Okay, so if the plan was perfect, if every domino was set just right, where did things go so wrong? That brings us to the next absolutely crucial part of this story, the gift and the fall. In the beginning, the universe was in a state of perfect harmony. This study calls it an allegiance of love. But here's the catch. The one thing that made that harmony possible was also its greatest risk, the genuine, no-strings-attached gift of choice, free will. Now, to really get what happened next, you have to understand the key players and their positions in the original heavenly hierarchy. On one side, you have Christ, the only begotten Son. He shares a divine nature with the Father and had access to God's most private counsels. On the other side, you have Lucifer, the highest created angel. He was a magnificent, created being, a covering cherub who stood right in God's presence. But he was still a creation. And that fundamental difference, well, that's where the trouble started. First came envy. Lucifer began to resent Christ's supreme position. That envy then festered into deception as he went around spreading lies and dissatisfaction about God's government. Eventually, it all blew up into open rebellion, which led to his expulsion from heaven, and he took a third of the angels with him. But just because they were cast out of heaven doesn't mean the conflict was over. Oh no, it just moved to a brand new battlefield. Our world, Earth. But it wasn't an immediate jump. After being kicked out, this study describes Satan and his followers as homeless vagabonds. For a time, they just wandered the cosmos, searching for other inhabited worlds where they could try to spread their rebellion. And we really have to grasp the scale of this. We're not talking about a small group of dissenters. A full 1/3 of the entire angelic host chose to side with Lucifer. This was a cataclysmic event that literally split the heavens in two. So how did this cosmic war end up right here on our doorstep? This study lays out a really clear 4-step process. First, the test. On every world God created, there was a single forbidden tree as a simple test of loyalty. Second, the temptation. Satan was given permission to tempt the inhabitants, but only at that one spot. Third, the failure. While other worlds passed the test, our first parents, Adam and Eve, fell for the deception. And fourth, the consequence. In that one act of disobedience, they handed over the dominion of this planet to Satan, making him the temporary ruler of this world. Okay, so that's the backstory, the ancient history. But what does any of that have to do with you and me right here, right now? Well, it turns out everything. The same principles are still in play, and they form the rules for spiritual warfare. So listen, these are your rules of engagement. First, your choice is everything. It directly determines your level of spiritual protection. If you choose to linger in sin, you're basically handing the enemy a foothold. See, God respects your free will so much that he won't interfere if you choose evil. But, and this is a huge but, if you choose to seek him, heaven provides an absolutely impenetrable shield. Now notice this next one because it's key. Satan aggressively goes after the faithful, not the people who are already on his side. And finally, prayer is a game changer. It's presented as a powerful tool that can literally create exceptions to these rules. And make no mistake, this is an active threat. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 gives us a chilling warning: be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. This brings us to a brilliant analogy from this study that helps explain why it often seems like good people face the most trouble. It's called the jailer's cage. Think about it. A jailer doesn't waste his time and energy guarding the prisoners who are already locked down with no chance of escape. He puts all of his effort into catching new captives. Satan works the exact same way, targeting those who aren't in his cage yet. But here is the most important part of this entire story. This is not a tale of defeat. It's not hopeless. There is a clear, decisive, and guaranteed path to victory that solves the whole paradox we started with. You see, Satan's power isn't static. It's actually been on a progressive downward slide since the very beginning. Step 1 was his expulsion from heaven, where he lost his position and home. Step 2 was at the cross. Christ's death cut off his access to other worlds and heavenly meetings. What's next? A future imprisonment right here on earth for 1,000 years. And the final step? His ultimate and permanent extinction. But why? Why all this suffering and pain in the meantime? Christ's prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane gives us the profound answer. Remember when he agonized and asked if there was any other way? The Father's silence was the confirmation. This painful, drawn-out process was literally the only way to guarantee that the universe would be forever free from the plague of sin. It was the only way to secure eternal peace for everyone. And that completely reframes how we can look at our own struggles, doesn't it? 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17 puts it this way: for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. The pain we feel now is actually forging something incredible and eternal. So, we end right back where we started, with a choice. This study has laid out the blueprint, the history of the conflict, and the rules of engagement. Now, knowing what the rules are and knowing what the stakes are, the final question is really for you. How will you choose to engage in this unseen conflict?